Should you be incorporating DNG into your RAW archive? Hey everyone, Greg Cazillo from Cazillo.com. Welcome to another Keep Shooting Monday. Actually, it's number 16. 16 weeks straight of Keep Shooting Mondays. It's amazing. So this week we have our vehicle photo assignment. Make sure that you have some kind of a photo of a car or a part of a car or a train or a bus, some kind of transportation. There's even a photo up there of a backhoe, which is really cool. I don't care. I'm going to be pretty loose on this one, not going to be super strict. Although there was someone that asked if they could just do train tracks, and that's not quite it. I think we need some kind of a part of a vehicle in there. So get those photos up by this Friday, 5 p.m., and I will choose them for next week's show. Sigma announced an 18 to 35 1.8 lens for crop sensor bodies, which is actually 1 1/3 stops brighter than 2.8, so that's pretty bright. It actually has a lot. That means you might be able to bring your, say, ISO down by another stop. Maybe your shutter speed can be a little bit higher if you really needed it. It's great to see that they are innovating and pushing the limits of what glass and lenses can do. It stinks that it's only for DX cameras or small format crop sensor lenses, or cameras I should say, but you know what? No big deal. They'll eventually push it up to the higher end ones, I'm sure. I'm sure this technology is going to end up in a lot of their other glass. They haven't announced any kind of pricing yet, but it's coming soon. Speaking of pricing, they actually did announce pricing on their little USB dock for some of their newer lenses. You're actually going to be able to change the firmware as well as adjust the autofocus parameters on your lenses. I'm a little worried about this one though. I feel like Sigma might kind of turn this in the wrong direction, and instead of saying, oh yeah, we'll fix your lens and you know what I mean, the acceptable range for autofocus might be a little bit wider since they can actually do this. So I hope that this isn't a marketing ploy and a general thing to be able to push the issues with any lenses back onto the consumer. I'm just a little bit worried about that, and I hope it isn't taken the wrong way, or that they do the wrong things with it. That they keep on doing the repairs as they should, and they keep their autofocus within proper tolerances. That's my main issue with this, and hopefully they don't take it the wrong way. 2 posts that are on f-stoppers this week. The first one showed photos of in Boston, actually as it was an absolute ghost town, which is absolutely just never happens after the marathon bombing this week. And just the photos were just, I don't want to say disturbing, but it was just really kind of eerie to see these, and it was a good series of them. They were really neat. Even more eerier and worse photos were actually the 2013 Pulitzer Prize-winning photographs that were taken of the war in Syria. Just amazing, amazing stuff. For good reason, since they are the Pulitzer Prize-winning photographs. But yeah, so check both of those galleries out over on f-stoppers. Adobe also announced Lightroom 5 with some new features. The #1 feature for me is this radial filter that gives you the option to do a custom vignette for more interesting photos. You can kind of darken some areas or lighten some areas, and that's actually really neat. Should give you some more creative options just within Lightroom, and I actually might use it more now since it's built right within Lightroom. Also custom shapes in the healing brush or clone tool, which is nice, and also better handling of offline files via what they call smart previews. And also there's this upright filter thing that's going to make it easier for you to straighten your photos, like if you have a building that isn't quite straight or something that kind of should be. There's some more options. It's really cool. I actually put up a video last Thursday that had my feature requests that I want to see in Lightroom 5. If you have some features that you want to see, please comment on that video and check it out. I got a little bit on the, I don't want to say rowdy side, but definitely passionate about this because, you know, it's software that I use every single day, and I feel like there's some things that are kind of neglected and should have been fixed or could have been fixed a long time ago. And so I do hope that Adobe will see this video, and so please share it and get it out there for me so that maybe we can get some of these really awesome feature requests that I had in there, and of course yours too. Hi Greg, I'm thinking about putting in a home studio and like to know your thoughts on studio lights, continuous versus strobe, or slave flash. Something I've been wanting to do for a while and I'm confused on which one to go with. Thanks. Well Mike, I would definitely go with strobe. I am not a fan of continuous lights. Typically they're a lot hotter, they make your models hot, they make the room hotter, so that's the big thing that's an issue to me. You also have a lot more power with a strobe versus your continuous lights. You need a lot of light to be able to match the power of a smaller strobe. So that to me is a better way to go. Also, you can control your shutter speed separately since that's how the flash works. You do need a little primer on, a little education on how your flash works as far as your exposure. You can check out this video. Now, as far as what to buy, the actual stuff, I actually have this video up which goes over your studio lighting basics and some things that you can purchase. In this setup right now, first thing, let me back up. The first thing you kind of need to think about is what am I going to be shooting? How am I going to set up? And that'll kind of tell you what you need to purchase. So in this setup right now, I'm actually using 4 lights. I have 2 lights back here as background lights. I have light right here on a softbox with a stand, which is my main light. And I have a light over here, which is on a stand, of course, with an umbrella. And so that is hitting just my fill. Then, of course, I have another stand here with my new little teleprompter thing. And so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stands that I would need. 4 lights. I would need at least a softbox and an umbrella. And, of course, my tripod camera, that kind of thing. So kind of playing out what you want to shoot, how you want to shoot it, and then you can start thinking about what you need to purchase. I am a huge fan of number 1, mono lights, and number 2, white lightning mono lights. I think that their products are excellent, and I've been using them forever. They do have the cheaper Alien B series, but if you can afford it, I suggest going with the higher end. I think it's, this is just the White Lightning brand, branded ones versus the Alien B. But then again, if you're not going to be using it very much, if you're just kind of like a weekend warrior with as far as photography, or you're only going to pull them out every once in a while, the Alien Bs probably do you just fine. So, check out this video, and any other questions, of course, ask away. I'm having a really hard time with recomposition. I'm fine when I manually lock in focus to take a picture, but if I focus and then try to recompose to better fit the rule of thirds, it's no longer pin sharp. The issue is that you are moving the plane of focus when you are recomposing. What's probably happening is that you have your camera in hand. You're probably shooting, say, a 2.8 or an f4 with a long lens, so you don't have a lot of depth of field. You have the camera in hand, and you focus, and then you turn the camera. When you turn the camera, that is changing the plane of focus. The plane of focus is just like an imaginary area, maybe a foot wide, maybe 6 inches, maybe only an inch wide, or an inch deep, I should say, that is following the camera and is parallel to the body of the camera, okay, and to the front of the lens. When you take that and you turn it a little bit, you're going to send it out of focus. You're going to change that plane of focus. That's why camera manufacturers nowadays have those individual points inside of the camera. So go in your camera manual, look up focus points, and learn how to use them. You have the little multi-selector, as Nikon calls it, on the back here. Sometimes with the Canons you have the wheel that you can use to turn. But anyway, that's how you're going to move those focus points around. Make sure you're on a single focus point instead of, say, the wide area focus or the dynamic area focus. You want to be on a single most of the time. And for a lot more tips and tricks on auto-focusing with your camera, you can check out this video here. Advantages and disadvantages of DNG. DNG is a file format that was created by Adobe as an open source file format way back in 2004, so it's almost 10 years old. And the reason why they came out with it is actually to curb the problem, or at least attempt to give people an option to find a way to keep all of their raw files in one single format. Because what happens is the the NEF format, the CR2, CRW, whatever the Canons use. Sorry guys, I don't know a whole lot about Canons. Those files are proprietary. They only do certain things. You have to write special software in order to open them, and that's why Adobe takes a while to catch up for, say, Lightroom and Camera Raw, that kind of thing, when a new camera comes out. That's just the way it is. There's nothing you can do about it. Basically, you need to have some kind of an open source format because, say, for example, my old files from my first digital camera, which is one of the old Kodak 620, 720 cameras, the really old ones. I had them, bought it back in like 2001 or 2002. Anyway, the issue is that, say, in another couple years, Adobe says, man, this file, the Lightroom package is getting way too big. We need to start getting rid of some of these files, some of the support for some of the pictures in here. So we're going to start getting rid of some of the support for these older cameras. And actually, this happened for a studio that I used to work for. They had one of the really early digital backs, actually two different ones, and those digital backs were no longer supported. So in order to open those super old RAW files, they had to keep a Mac G3 computer around. Was it G3? Yeah, something like that. Super old tower Mac computer running like an operating system that was, you know, like 9 point something. Anyway, super old OS, super old computer. Had to keep this whole computer around in order to be able to open those super old RAW files because nothing supports it. There's only this one software package that supports it, and this one software package only runs on this one version of Mac OS. So you don't have a choice, and that's what we want to keep from happening. We don't want to have our photos locked into this super old file format that we can't do anything with. I'm using DNG files right now for larger events, say a race or a show or something like that, where I'm not as worried about the files. I'm blowing them down, saving some space on my hard drive. By the way, I have a video coming up very, very soon, maybe even this Thursday, on how I switched over my archive and how I'm going to be backing up and saving all of my photos. And stay tuned for that video. It's going to be a really good and really in-depth way of setting up and backing up everything. Anyway, back to the DNG. The DNG, it's good for a lot of things, but the big thing is it's slower to process, at least from what I've noticed. If I'm only processing, say, 5 files, not a big deal, I'm not going to notice it. Over, say, 100, 200, 1,000 pictures, I've noticed that the DNG file, especially when they are compressed, losslessly compressed files, then they are definitely slower to process out of Lightroom. Not a big deal if you're just going to set it and forget it and go have a cup of coffee, but if you're sitting there waiting on them, that can be a problem. So other than that, the way that you should be handling and thinking about DNG and photo archive in general is that in 20 years, you want to make sure that all of your photos can still open. In 50 years, in 100 years, you want to make sure that all of your photos can still open. So what I do is every time a new software package comes out, say Lightroom 5 when it comes out, I hope probably sometime this year, I will go back, open up a lot of my old files from 10 years ago, make sure that they still open, that there's no issues, they can still process out, and then I know that I'm fine for another software version. But like I said, maybe in a couple years, Adobe might say, we're going to start getting rid of some of these old cameras because this package is getting a little bit too big, and nobody uses those files anyway, so who cares? And so that's where I might need to convert to DNG, I might need to convert to PSD, or maybe even a TIFF file. Might need to do something else with those files in order to save them and be able to have a good archive of them. In general, though, I think it's a good option as long as Adobe and other people start supporting it. There is no open specification like some other thing. Well, I shouldn't say open specification. I should say there really isn't anyone else besides Adobe that's really building on this, from what I can tell, from what I've read on the internet. And so, you know, hopefully Adobe keeps going. I mean, they are a huge company, but, you know, you never know. So like I said, watch the software, keep up to date, know what's going on, and you should be fine. Like I said, I do have that video coming up very, very soon on archive, backup, all that stuff, and I think that's everything. So, yep, I think that's all I wanted to mention. Greg Cazillo, Cazillo.com. Thanks, guys. Keep shooting.